Hello all, welcome to Universal Group of Institutions, Bengaluru. Welcome to our very special and a very interesting series, video series related to the government schemes. In this particular video series, we are going to discuss about all the important government schemes from the UPSC civil service examination point of view, both from the prelims as well as the mains examination point of view. That means the comprehensive coverage of the government schemes will be done in this video series session. So in this particular video session we are going to discuss about a very important scheme of the Ministry of Rural Development called as the MGNREGA, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Act, which led to the birth of a scheme called as MGNREGA, yes, that is Mahatma Gandhi National Rural Employment Guarantee Scheme. Okay, so the act is a framework which prescribes the guidelines or which prescribes the rules and the regulations, the manner in which the schemes needs to be implemented. So MG Act prescribes the framework, whereas the MG is the actual scheme. So the first aspect that we are looking at in the today's session is the core objectives of the schemes. What are the core objectives of the scheme? The first aspect of the scheme happens to be the guaranteed employment. We need to understand one thing here very clearly. Okay, see, there were in the past as well, that is prior to MGNREGA Act, that is prior to 2005 as well, the union government has come up with the programs or the initiatives where which were the whole objective was to create the employment opportunities. What sets apart the MGNREGA from any other previous government schemes is the it ensures the right to work. What do I mean by right to work? Let's say a individual, there is an individual X who is ready to do a manual unskilled work. He has registered himself with the panchayat, and if the panchayat fails to provide him a job within the 15 days, then it is the obligation of the state government to provide him with the unemployment allowance. That is what I mean by right to work. That means this is a right, it's a privilege. If the state fails, the state has to compensate him. So that is the first important objective or the aspect happens to be the guaranteed employment, number one. Number two, by ensuring the income security for the 100 days, it is going to strengthen the livelihood for the poor. That means it's a me I mean it is, look what has happened, why this was necessary. See, India after 1991 has achieved a tremendous economic growth in comparison of what happened before 1991. Okay, but this economic growth after 1991 was led by the service sector. The service sectors on an average growth rate was somewhere between the 7 to 8%. But if you look at what happened to the agriculture, the average growth rate is below 3.5%. That means the agriculture and its allied activities have failed to generate the sufficient income for the population that is depending upon it. Roughly 47 to 50% of the population, even to the day, directly or indirectly depends upon the agriculture. So the income levels of the people who are dependent upon the agriculture are declining, or the agricultural workers are declining. To ensure a stable income, the government has come up with the MG Narega. So that's the reason I said it strengthens the livelihood. The next one happens to be the social inclusion. What I mean by social inclusion, see, within the society, the women, the scheduled caste, the scheduled tribe, or the one who faces the greater amount of the marginalization. I mean, very simple, the concept of a marginalization. They're not enjoying the facilities enjoyed by the mainstream. Opportunities are not being extended to them, or when it comes to the enjoyment of the benefits. That means the facilities, opportunities, and the benefits are not being enjoyed equally enjoyed by these marginalized communities. Through this scheme, it is going to ensure the social inclusion. That means 1/3 of the seats, I mean the sorry, the number of the job opportunities have been clearly reserved for the women. That's what the social inclusion. The last aspect happens, which talks about, is the strengthening the panchayat raj institution. That means the panchayat raj institutions have been envisaged a greater role in the implementation of this project, be it selecting the project as well as the implementation of this particular project. So now let us look at the other aspect, that is the structure and the implementation, the manner in which the program will be implemented. The first aspect happens to be about the funding. I mean, who funds this project? See, MGNREGA schemes happens to be a centrally sponsored scheme. There are two kinds of schemes that you will hear. One happens to be the central sector scheme. Another one happens to be the centrally sponsored scheme. So, what sets this centrally sponsored schemes apart from the central sector is, in a central sponsored schemes, they are jointly funded by both central and the state government, be it in the ratio of 60 is to 40, 90 is to 10, 75 is to 25, depending upon the state and depending upon the the scheme as well. Whereas central sector schemes are fully funded by the central government. The second difference is that generally the central sponsored schemes are of the state list or the concurrent list. Reason being, the state's financial capacity is very less. To complement the efforts of the state government, the union government extends the helping hand to these state governments, and these schemes are very much important from the development's perspective. I mean, these are, they're going to act as a catalyst for the developmental progress of the nation. So, funding pattern: 100% labor cost will be funded by the central government. 75% of the material cost will be funded by the central government. Very simple one. Let's say to build a 1 kilometer of a road, they require a 1 lakh. Okay, this 1 lakh includes the material cost as well as the wage cost. Let's say the material cost is 50 lakh and the wage cost is also 50 lakh. The material of this 50 lakh, 75% will be borne by the central government, whereas the wages, 100% wages will be funded by the union government. Next one, the implementation. Who is going to implement this? As I said very clearly, it happens to be of the ambit of the Ministry of Rural Development. Similarly, the other departments, that is the Ministry of Rural Development across the states, are the the nodal agencies to implement this particular project. Next one, as I explained, guaranteed guarantees 100 days of manual unskilled work. If any individual registers, he'll be guaranteed with the 100 days of work. If state fails, unemployment allowance will be given to him, as well as, I mean, statutory minimum wage will be ensured. That means the MGNREGA Act itself clearly prescribes that every year union government is going to notify the wages across the states. Okay, that is the point important, right? And these wages are based upon the consumer price index agricultural labor. You already know very clearly there are four kinds of CPI that exist: CPI agricultural labor, CPI industrial workers. So one, these wages are linked with the CPI agricultural labor, and the wages are going to vary from a state to state basis. So look at the other components of the program. One happens to be the audit. It is the Grama Sabha has been empowered, and it is a mandatory for the Grama Sabha to carry out the social audits of these projects. That means they need to be of certain whether the intended money has been used for the right purpose or not. Next one, right to work. As I said, demand based. You express the demand, you express the desire, work needs to be given to you. 1/3 of the total job opportunities are to be given to the women. Unemployment allowance, as I said, I mean, it's after 15 days, unemployment allowance should be given by the state government, not the central government. And to create a better working conditions, the it also mandates certain worksite facilities like crashes, drinking water, and the first aid. And the work radius happens to be very important. It is a duty of the panchayat to ensure that the particular work is within the 5 kilometer of the registration itself. Apart from this, as I said very clearly, this envisages a greater role for the panchayat. What do I mean by, can you see very clearly, uh, the program, the clause number 4, the program officer shall allot at least 50% of the works in terms of its cost under the scheme to be implemented through the gram panchayat. So gram panchayats have been envisaged a greater role in the selecting the project, which needs to select, I mean, by putting forward the proposal before the grama sabha. So grama sabha, grama panchayats, and then the PO, that is the program officer, and similarly the proposer will be forwarded to the intermediate panchayat level. Can you see the other responsibilities that are in grama panchayat? Shall be responsible for the identification of the projects in the grama panchayat area to be taken up under the scheme as per the recommendation of the grama sabha, ward sabha, and for executing and supervising such works. Grama panchayat may take up any project under the scheme within the area of a grama panchayat as may be sanctioned by the program officer. So these two important provisions that needs to be remembered very clearly. Now let us come to the last aspect of this video session. What are the key issues, or what are the problems that are plaguing this particular scheme? The one happens to be the inadequate wages. See, even though they have, the central government has notified the wages, the notified wages and the wages that is being offered to the workers is completely different. That means there is a slight difference between the wages that is being notified by the government as well as the wages that is being given by these state government. Can you see here very clearly the gap between the notified daily wage rate and the average wage paid? Look at the, for the state of Rajasthan, the wage that is being prescribed is 266, 211 is being given. Karnataka 349 and the 333, that is the point number 1. And these wages are happens to be on the lower side, considering the the cost increase in the cost of living even in the rural area. Because the reason being, the CPA agricultural labor even to the day uses the base year 2009 2010. That needs to be changed as well. Delay in the payments, even though this act clearly prescribes that the wages needs to be paid on a weekly basis, and within the 15 days once the work is completed, we still see that in many states the wages are not being paid on time, which aggravates the problem considering the economic situation of the workers. Then the limited compensation. What I mean by limited compensation, see, whenever the unemployed, I mean the state government is supposed to pay the unemployment allowance. If they fail to pay the unemployment allowance on time, the state government is imposed with the penalty. This penalty is also not being paid on time, be it the setting aside the wages and unemployment allowance, these compensations are also not being paid on time. Can you see very clearly, which talks about, or which clearly highlights delay in allowance payment, unemployment allowance that is being paid here? Can you see for the 24-25, the percentage that is paid happens to be the 24 percentage. For 23-24, that happens to be the 9% only. So that is the next aspect. Corruption and leakages is the another aspect. I mean, we see more and more bogus job cards that are being issued. Bogus bills are being presented by these. So that is the another. Poor quality of the assets. Look, see, if you look at the materials to wage ratio, even though the materials to wage ratio is 60 is to 40, I mean, within this 60% of the material cost, we are not able to build a quality durable assets which can lead to a, act as a multiplier effect into the rural areas. That is not happening. Lack of audits, again you can see, even though it is mandatory to complete the social audits on time, we still see that not 100% social audits are being carried out by the panchayat. Can you see this figure 9, that is GPs that have completed the social audit at least once in a financial year? That is very alarming one. So that's the challenge. Capacity issues, that means the monitoring staff, the technical staff that is required to successfully implement these schemes is not available, or they are understaffed, which is stopping, or which has acting as a barrier for the implementation of this project. Technological barrier, again, even though these, I mean, wages needs to be paid directly to the account, other Aadhaar authentication and all, still facing some of the problem and inconsistent implementation we see across India. I mean, there exists a greater amount of disparity between the states, the manner in which this program is being implemented. So these are some of the key issues that are affecting this particular program. And I just have to conclude this video session with the very important data that you need to understand, because right now we are seeing more and more questions are being asked in terms of the examining statement based. If you look at the total allocation for this in this particular year of the Ministry of Rural Development, MGNREGA gets the lion's share. There is 46% of the fund is just dedicated for the MGNREGA. Then the second happens to be the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana Gramin, 29 percentage, NRLM with 10 percentage, again PMGES5, that is Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana, with another 10% of the money. We see very clearly the MGNREGA gets the lion's share of the money. So that's it in this particular video session. If you have any concern, do let us know in the comment section. Do like, do share, and do subscribe. Thank you.